I am freshly delivered from Haugh, where all the action went down. There were current players out at Haugh, like Caleb Williams.
Let's start with that. Who all was there out of the Bears?
Yeah, you had Caleb Williams front and center, sitting right next to DJ Moore. Sitting to the right of him was Rome Odunze, and to the right of him was Cole Kmet. There were no defensive players there representing today, which is funny because one of Ben Johnson's greatest compliments of the day was to say that the team that he was most scared of before the season started was the Bears, mostly because of their run defense, which was okay for about 3 games this year.
And then was dog bleed.
I mean,
if I'm Andrew Billings, I'm finding a way to somehow get paid more.
Big Bill!
That might be, if I had one goal for a Bear outside of the obvious, it might be to get Andrew Billings more money. See what happened when I wasn't there?
Yeah.
And then just gesture wildly to the calendar.
I will say, that was one of the smart Ryan Poles things that he identified quickly in the 1-year deal of Andrew Billings that he needed to have 2 years tacked onto that, which he did 2 years ago. So he's already gotten a little bit of a bonus. And having, I guess as long as we're on him, having talked to him at the end of the season around his locker, he couldn't be happier. He's not talking about any contract, but he is happy to be a Chicago Bear. DJ Moore there as well. This was kind of funny. Right afterwards, I knew it was going to have to be quick. I had quick conversations with Caleb and with DJ Moore, and I will share both of those right now. With DJ Moore, do you guys remember at the end of the season, towards the end of the season, there was a little bit of controversy stirred up surrounding DJ Moore, unintentionally, believe it or not, by me.
Because how gratifying is it when you win that battle and get the football thrown to you? What?
The greatest what ever.
It doesn't get any easier to listen to the more I hear it.
It's so funny. It's so funny, though. But I think it was after that, or maybe some other time or point in time, I was asking a follow-up question about what he was going to be doing during the offseason. And he mentioned to me, he said, well, I'm getting the hell out of here, man. I'm going on vacation. And a lot of people around here at the Score.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And other places it got around.
People were mad because
it became a topic.
And he was very clear about how he felt about the season. And you had asked him a very specific question about the offseason. So I wasn't mad at him.
I wasn't either. I knew exactly what happened.
Okay, so this is a safe place.
We need to figure it out.
But a lot of people...
Maybe not this year, but at the beginning of next year, we definitely need to figure it out before we play a real game.
What have you learned, if anything, just about Caleb and how he's managed all of this in his first 14 games?
His mental toughness. He could have checked out, but he didn't. Yeah, he's still persevering through a lot of things, and he's been him.
Just to follow up to Kevin's question and the off season, it has to be something you guys are already thinking about in terms of get it right. And what kind of ideas do you have when you think about the off season already and training camp and making it better?
What I'm thinking about? Vacation.
To clear your mind of all this?
Go, yeah. Let them do all the work and then, just come back and ready to go.
So a lot of people got angry about that. But now, to hear it in full context is important to see the line of questioning. But right after the thing ended, I go towards Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. And first I said to DJ Moore, based on this. And the word got back to DJ Moore. DJ Moore was not happy with the way people ran with that topic, with the vacation thing.
I can understand why he was upset.
Yeah, so he wasn't happy. I talked to some people, tried to smooth things over.
It wasn't your fault.
No, it wasn't. And I regret nothing. Typically, I don't regret anything that's asked or happens out there, unless I feel like I've made a mistake. But I did not feel that way. But I went up to him with all this vacation stuff out there, and I said, hey, man, I thought you were getting the hell out of here, going on vacation. And he looked at me and he said, I was on vacation. He's like, I was in Disneyland, man. So he came, for everybody out there, the vacation update is He did go to Disneyland, but he came all the way back to the Arctic freeze of Chicago and left his cute daughters in Disneyland with his wife. And I assume he's heading back there. He may be back there now, for all I know.
Well, the problem is, I think in Orlando right now, it's not great either.
Oh, really?
But Disneyland, that's
Cali.
Thank
Oh,
you,
sorry.
That's Cali.
Sorry, my bad.
No, yeah. Grote, clarification. Disneyland
Yeah.
or Disneyland or Disney World?
Well, they said Disneyland. Now, a lot of times,
Also,
people,
not great out there either.
Yeah, that's
right
true.
now.
That's true.
No, they're actually getting rain later this week,
That'll help.
or maybe early next week. It's in a few days.
The other one was Caleb. So I ran to him because I knew that as soon as that thing ended, Caleb would be taken away by his handlers, and they were nice enough to let us talk to him, and everybody's going to want to try to chit chat with Caleb. So I went to him, and there he was, sitting there with a hard cast on his right hand and wrist, and I wasn't even sure because I debated with Weeder, was it actually a hard cast? And it was, still wearing it, and I just said, "When are you getting that thing off, man?" And he said, 2 days. So the cast comes off from Caleb Williams in 2 days.
Okay.
There it is.
Did he say it was a cyst? The team has
You know
said
what?
he got a cyst removed.
I felt bad that I didn't follow up, but I felt like I had limited time with him. So I should have asked if it was indeed a cyst.
We had that information.
Yeah, I mean, I know
Yeah.
we did. But of course I was like, should I have taken advantage? But no, that would have been unfair to my friends out at Haugh. So
Yeah,
I
on
didn't.
message was the head coach hiring, and he had a lot to say.
Yes, he did. He had a lot to say today in the big auditorium out at Haugh. I'll give you guys, I know you guys have been talking about this all day on the score, but I will go through some of this audio stuff that I thought was important or stood out to me, and starting with, of course, Ben Johnson. And let's get right into it. Let's get right into Caleb Williams. Caleb, baby, and his philosophy about Caleb, his philosophy about the quarterback position as well. Here it is.
It's clear that modern football in the NFL is quarterback driven. That is no secret. You can look at analytics. Right now, quarterback success is a higher predictor of winning and losing than turnover ratio, which it's been for 20 plus years. Okay, that's changed. So there's no doubt Caleb played a large component into my decision. He is a phenomenal talent that had, as many quarterbacks do, an up and down rookie year. Where I see my role is as a supporter of him. This offense will be calibrated with him in mind. We're going to build this thing. This is not simply a dropping of a previous playbook down on the table and starting there. Nope. We're ripping this thing down to the studs, and we're going to build it up with him first and foremost, and then with the pieces around him next. I really look forward to challenging him and pushing him, as I said before, to continue to grow and develop.
I love hearing that. I've tired of, this is the system that I run, and we're just going to run the system.
And it takes several years to get the system.
And you got to get the system right. Instead of, hey, what do you like to do, man? Oh, I like to do this. Cool. We'll add it to the stuff that I like to do. Hey, I also like to do this. What do you think of this? That seems pretty cool. Saw you do it with Jared Goff. I think I could do some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Let's put an offense together that maximizes what it is you do.
And I hope he actually does it, because other Bears offensive coaches in this era, let's just call it the from Mitch Trubisky on era, have talked a good game about doing what is right.
You can just say the post-Lovey era. Just call it the post-Lovey era.
Fair enough. I think
Dell Loggins actually wanted to do some of that stuff. He just didn't have the whole toolbox.
Dow's doing pretty well, right? He's
man, this is a weird day. I'm hearing Dowell Loggins' name. I'm listening to you guys playing John Shoop.
And John Shoop's words were the exact same as Ben Johnson's words.
Yeah, Dow's now the head coach at Appy State.
Oh my God.
He's the head coach at Appalachian State.
I hate to say this, but what went through my head when I heard about the relationship with Ben Johnson and John Shoop was, red flag,
yes.
red flag.
It sounds like he's taken the best parts of what he learned from Shoop.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I hope so.
Did the points that the Lions scored at will not indicate that to you this season?
Yeah, that's points at will for sure. I hope
they
so.
Scored
I hope
over 50 twice.
In their final game where they lost and were ejected, they still scored, what was it, 30 or 31? I mean,
yeah.
So that's
45-31, right?
well,
31.
The only thing that I have a question, I mean, this is probably maybe for another day, but in going deep, but Ben Johnson made it very clear this is not Detroit. This is the different personnel. We know that. It's obvious. What I want to know is, and one of the themes was, this guy knows how to use a running game, right? That he obviously with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery,
use a run game and then building a passing game off of that run game, which is what's got me excited.
Right. Well, with a very good offensive line. So many people talk about, well, the Bears don't have that offensive line. What about the running backs too? Because DeAndre Swift is still under contract.
He's worked with Swift before.
Yes. Yeah, I mean that helps. But
I think that he is at this point in his career, not when he was younger. I think he is the generic version of Sonic.
Oh yes.
And now you need to find your version of Knuckles.
Okay. I like that idea, like of getting DeAndre Swift right. Like Caleb Williams is not the only person in that offense that needs to get right, or needs maybe just development on the fly.
I am all for Caleb Williams' development. I want him to do well, just like everybody else does. But there were even plays this year where after there was an established run game, there were design plays to get DeAndre Swift in play action and then be the first read in positive yardage in the pass pattern. I saw it multiple times, and for whatever reason, QB did not throw there. And I forget what the alternative was. I know in one of them it was a sack. One of them was INC, I believe. It was incomplete. But that, even in those examples, there was proper use of the run game, but there wasn't some sort of thing that clicked there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where his first read was, but it looked like they were clear design plays. Whereas it was Swift running up the middle and to the left, perhaps I want to say like maybe 4 or 5 yards out. But I don't know what happened there. But that's something that indicates to me like there's a lot of work to be done as to what your read progression needs to be.
Yeah.
Based off of proper use of run game.
Right. And is it with what he was doing with the run game in Detroit semi-universal and not just a product of how good Jahmyr Gibbs is and David Montgomery to a different degree. But let me stay on that theme with Ben Johnson and the roster in general. He loves, at least what he was saying in the introductory portion, that he loves the Bears roster.
You mentioned that this roster is loaded with talent. So then when you look back at the Bears season, enduring a 10-game losing streak, does that surprise you that a team with this type of talent endured that? And how close do they not need to make that many changes going into this year?
Yeah, listen, we'll evaluate the whole roster. I have not watched all the tape, but I have a good feel from game planning against this defense and certainly seeing the crossover tape with the offense that I feel really confident about the current talent level already in the building. Going into this season, I felt like this place was a sleeping giant. To be honest with you, I personally was more concerned about the Chicago Bears than I was anybody else in this division. Now, there's a number of reasons why that did not unfold, all right, that's why I'm here. I'll get to the bottom of that, and we'll see if we can't get that corrected and cleaned up. But I was very encouraged with what was already on the roster right here, and like I said before, this division, as hard as it is, really excited about competing here.
Was it just the changes that they made going into the offseason that scared you the most about the Bears? Was it Caleb Williams? Like, what was it about the Bears that they were the...
Well, personally, we struggled with that defense here for both games that we played them in 2023. Okay, so that was a huge deal, was knowing that as much as I struggle staying up at night trying to attack this defense, I knew what that was capable of, and then seeing all the weapons that they have on offense here was really, really encouraging.
And I'll just add, he was asked, Ben Johnson, in a follow-up about the offensive line and did indicate they've already talked about the offensive line and understands it needs to get better.
That was one of the things that I thought was so valuable, or could be really valuable to the Bears overall, is getting a different point of view from an offensive coach on what your offensive linemen need to look like and play like. I don't think that they were talking to Flusy about. I think they would say to him, hey, we know that you need a better offensive line. I don't know if he was able to give the expertise and reverse engineer it and be like, these are the types of offensive linemen I'd be afraid of.
I have some skepticism, though, with the entire concern about the offensive line, though, is because your GM is a former offensive lineman.
Well, and the assistant GM.
Yeah, and the scouting of this team was based on relative athletic score, which has shown to not give them what they wanted it to be. Like that should have been Ryan Poles' area of expertise.
Maybe that's one of the places where he is in that the Albert Breer piece. Maybe that's one of the things that maybe not so reliant.
Means rehaul your entire front office approach, because that's a big part of this.
It is.
To me.
You've
got 3 years of work here. As we have famously said on this station, they passed up on centers who are playing right now on playoff teams in the NFC, and they've drafted 2 punters. So I would love that it takes Ben Johnson to tell you what we're all seeing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
maybe it's less about traits and more about players. That's what my hope for their draft season is. Don't be so reliant on the athletic score test. Don't freak out when you see like, oh, this guy's got freaky athletic ability. Can he play? Right. Can he play football?
Yeah.
Have you seen him play football? Did he make an impact on tape? That's overall, it's a big issue for me, where we're going to get to the combine and people are going to say stupid bleep about someone being able to, oh, well, look how fast Xavier Worthy is. And you're watching Xavier Worthy. He's very fast. He also struggles to run routes and catch the ball. It's great that he's fast, but can he play? And I hope that the Bears start to move back. They don't have to do it entirely, but move back towards, is this guy a football player? Not can this guy win at the 3-cone drill?
There's a lot of hubris, I think, when it comes to the decisions that have been made on both lines. That you guys were going to coach him up, or that you guys were going to somehow unlock something. Even in the free agent market, Nate Davis.
Well, I mean, you go back to the Golden one, and that, not just Nate Davis, but Lucas Patrick was pretty close in terms of a fail to Nate Davis. And Nate Davis isn't, I just laugh at Nate Davis now. That's a totally different category. You're right. But you go Lucas Patrick, you had Sam Mustipher as a center for a while. Cody Whitehair. Remember Cody Whitehair? He got in there at center too. I mean, like that you talk, I mean, we just zero in on that spot. It's pretty rough. So, yeah, I'd like to think that those guys will start to see things differently. Hopefully Ben Johnson will be able to give the proper input on that. Ryan Poles, one of the things I thought was interesting to hear from Ryan Poles was none of us knows how secure Ryan Poles is right now. And will Ben Johnson have power in personnel, or what will his part be in that?
We're going to spend a lot of time together. That was part of our interview process. I said, how do you handle discrepancies when it comes to player acquisition? And he answered it perfectly. It's spending time and watching tape together to figure out what direction we need to go in. We're going to have different opinions. We're going to see players differently, but it's coming together, watching tape, and figuring out what's best for the organization. So I think that part's going to come easy for both of us.
Doing for Caleb, or giving Caleb, that he didn't have in his rookie season.
Yeah, he's going to be challenged to be a professional football player, to do the little things the right way. And that foundation, I know Ben's going to hit that early and often, get that foundation strong, because you're going to build everything off of there. So once that's there, now we can continue to get better and play more consistently.
Lean into, guys, the learn how to be a pro part, because I don't know that Caleb Williams has that part completely down, and maybe it was the infrastructure that was around him. And I'm not saying like there's something bad about Caleb Williams, but just finished his rookie year in a really chaotic season. So that part, like Ben Johnson is going to shape this guy or hopefully, in theory, shape this guy in a lot of different ways.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Okay, when you were in the press conference, you were there in person. I felt like they were speaking, when they talked about accountability a few times and then said there's going to be consequences. Did you get the feeling that they were speaking about a specific individual but like they were talking about somebody or perhaps a divided locker room or something.
I think that was just a reference to or a result of the chaos, the trauma from the coaching staff this past season, like with the accountability fact. I think that was probably just as much aimed like at the coaches as it is as the players.
Okay.
Like, because remember the whole Matt Eberflus for a while wasn't taking accountability, and then he was doing it. Then he was doing it disingenuously.
Yes.
Where they put it on me. It's my fault. Blame me.
And he didn't mean it.
He didn't mean it.
He wasn't contrite.
Yeah, it was not contrite.
I just didn't know if like there was one individual they were speaking to. We brought it up earlier on the show, and Tyreek Stevenson was of course mentioned. But I just didn't know if that was like calling out somebody in particular, or if that was more of it in general.
I think it's in general. How would he handle these situations? If they
today.
I didn't mean to do it, Danny.
That's twice. That's good.
We are imitating life, imitating art.
Accountability was it felt like such a big thing this year, like shock to a shocking extent.
When you don't actually say the person or action that needs to be held accountable, then in itself it's not entirely accountable.
Right. Yeah. I guess we can, for today, I suppose we could let it go and just say, well, they don't want to share that with us. But
and I understand why.
Yeah, and look, there were so many issues this year with the Bears and accountability with the coaches and accountability with the players. So I think that's why that comes up. A couple more here before I scoot on out of here. Kevin Warren and in his role in all of this, which I thought was important to ask him just because we don't really know exactly what's going on. And they did get the best guy, and they were boasting that they were going to get the best guy, and here he is, and here's Kevin Warren.
Can you describe what your specific role was in getting Ben Johnson here?
I mean, I look at this as a team merit effort. You know, I'm here to lead. I'm here to support. I'm here to hopefully build a winning culture that has long-term positive ramifications. And also I'm here, I believe, whether it's my legal background, to be sometime the contrarian, to raise certain issues just to make sure that we think through of all the different angles. But in this process, we were all on the same page. We interviewed a lot of different people. We learned a lot. We got better. And today is a day of excitement. But this truly is almost like getting your admission letter to law school. It doesn't make you a great lawyer. You got to go through the process. You got to go to class. You got to graduate. You got to pass the bar. You got to practice. And one good thing about this team of individuals, from George's leadership to Ryan to Ben to me, to our fan base, to our players, you know, we're committed to doing everything the right way with integrity to make sure we build a winner here in Chicago. So I'm excited every day, and I'm very excited today.
This kind of stuff all sounds a lot better today than it did going into the interview process.
It does, but everything that we've heard about how this process was handled, I think that it's okay for Kevin Warren to pull a Barry Horowitz, pat himself on the back. This organization needed someone who was not connected with Trace Armstrong to run this thing, or at least be like, hey, man, you should probably interview some other people. Let's make sure that we have a backup plan. We expect to get Ben Johnson, but let's make sure that we have our second and our third choice just in case.
Priority Sports and Mark Bartelstein were mentioned quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that.
And if he was playing the counter guy, the pushing back on things, and good. If that was his role, to be like, hey, are we sure about this? And really ask questions of Ryan Poles and whomever needed to be asked those questions. Good for him. So he gets a W by his name as well, I think, at least for today in all of this. Last piece of tape I have for you guys.
Aww.
One more piece.
Oh, just one more.
This is it. And then a little bit of information, too.
Nuggets and tidbits,
I
perhaps?
got a couple of nuggets and tidbits, yeah.
All
A couple
right.
things that I haven't shared
All right.
yet. George McCaskey. A question, ladies and gentlemen, from Mark Potash.
The Bears aren't usually this aggressive in getting a candidate like him. And frankly,
Thank you.
They really haven't gotten a candidate as heralded as Ben Johnson. or a guy who likely commands an over-the-top salary like he does. Why was this different?
Well, I don't agree with the premise of the question, but our job, as I said, is to offer support, guidance when necessary, resources when necessary. And once Ryan identified Ben as the guy, we needed to do what it took to get him to Chicago.
I agree with Potsy.
It was just one hit after another. He's like, or committed a salary, or is heralded. Like, just boom, boom.
I agree with Potsy. And I think the Bears, I think that the way, instead of sidestepping that, and he kind of got to it inside of his answer, George should have been puffy-chested and been like, look.
Told you.
We are the charter franchise
right.
of the NFL, and we will not be outspent on the things that we want or desire. Done.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what? They need to be kind of like Kansas. Like, act like you invented the sport.
You got some Kansas issues over there? Yeah.
KU gets all the calls.
Yeah.
The Jayhawks, they just do. You accept it.
Who did you root for? Who was your team? I'm trying to
college.
I'm trying to connect the dots on your
North
shot
Texas.
there.
Yeah, UNT obviously,
yeah,
but like you know, we have shirts that say "winning is for losers." But the point is, like, have some, that's how I roll.
Okay,
winning is for losers.
I've never heard your Kansas hate come out like this.
No, but that's the swag though. It's not even hate. It's just they act like that.
And
They should act like that.
Right. I guess it's a good thing.